Through brutal betrayal, rose an army, fighting for a world where no soul suffers in silence. From the group that brought you Desmond's Law, join us as we shield every paw from cruelty. Welcome to the Desmond's Army podcast, Animal Advocacy Unleashed.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Desmond's Army podcast. I'm your host, Matt Caron, and joining me for today's episode is our Vice President, Linda Pleva. Linda, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt, for having us on.
All right. Well, as we get into the swing of things here on the podcast, we want to let everybody know before we get started that there's multiple ways that you can watch our content. We are dropping full episodes on Facebook, on Instagram, on our YouTube channel, and we just recently got on Apple Podcast and Spotify. So many different locations where you can watch the Desmond's Army podcast in full, and we're going to be inviting different guests on and pumping out as many episodes as we can. It has been a busy holiday season. I feel like I have to take a deep breath just to de-stress from everything. And it's certainly a busy month on our court calendar, right, Linda?
It is. During December, we had 80 different cases. 80.
It never stops.
Never
stops.
January,
in January, we're expecting to be just as busy, right?
We are already at 73 cases for January, and that number always increases as we get into the month.
Yep. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. What we wanted to do with this particular episode is fill you in on some of the cases that we have been keeping a close eye on here at Desmond's Army, going all the way back to the beginning of the holiday season around Thanksgiving and taking us through current day. So we're going to be giving you some brief recaps on all of our cases, many of which you've read about on social media, providing you some context, some commentary, some extra information, and letting you know about what you can do to get involved and be a part of the change that is so desperately needed here in Connecticut. So, Linda, if you're ready to dive in, I got a case that we'll start with.
Absolutely. Ready to go.
All right. So this takes us back to just before Thanksgiving, November 18th. The case involving two dogs, Eeyore and Piglet. Desmond's Army ended up issuing a $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and prosecution of those people responsible. This was ultimately an abandonment and abuse case. And let's lay out some of the details here. It's all started when a vehicle pulled into the City of New London Animal Control Department driveway, and that vehicle tossed two severely neglected dogs, Eeyore and Piglet, right out the window and sped off without ever showing a readable license plate. The video just wasn't clear enough to be able to get the plate number. But Linda, I gotta go over this with you, and it's hard to read it. But what happened next was literally like out of a movie. Coyotes emerged from the wood line and attacked those two dogs. Piglet fled into the street and was struck by a vehicle. Eeyore was grabbed by the neck and dragged away by a coyote. Now, both of those dogs ended up being rescued. However, one of them did pass away from the injuries a few days later. Just an unbelievable case, as if the abandonment wasn't enough.
Right. Well, and what we see a lot of is that these animals that have been abandoned have been previously neglected or abused. I mean, they're just abandoned and they're already in horrible condition. Even though they're found right away, we find that they're emaciated, they've suffered injuries, they've not received vet care for a long, long time. So, it's not just a simple case of abandonment. Oh, I can't afford my animal anymore. Let me dump them somewhere. It is a case of severe neglect for a lengthy period of time before the abandonment.
Yeah, we don't know what those dogs experienced throughout.
We just know that they were already in horrendous condition.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we've covered some of the details of that. So once they were rescued, the vets found that they were emaciated, covered in years worth of matted fur. One of them had an infected embedded harness into its skin, old and new broken bones, new from the coyote attack that happened, and then deep bite wounds, obviously probably from the coyote attack. Yeah, for someone to just, toss him out the window like you go to the fast food and you just toss
Right.
your drink out the window or whatever, like
It is.
trash.
It's just unbelievable. It's just crazy. I don't know.
And the thing that's,
Heartless.
yeah. And it's one thing to abandon your animals, but, putting yourself in the shoes of that animal who already has been neglected and is mistrusting of humans. It's not like these animals are going to be running up to the first human that comes along, right?
Well, sometimes they do, because, even though the person may not have treated them nicely, there's quite often other people in the household that did. Showed them some love, showed them, that they can be trusted. And isn't that especially sad to think that, they trusted humans at some point, and that's how the human responded to them. Horrible.
Yep. So this was again at the New London Animal Control, Piglet and Eeyore.
Somebody might say, and I don't mean to interrupt, Matt, but somebody might say that, well, we did the best we could. We at least dumped them at an animal control facility where they might be found immediately. We see how that turned out, right?
Yeah. Do better, as they say. Do
Mm-hmm.
better. There's no suspect in that case, by the way.
No.
Because again, they couldn't get a readable license plate. But I'm sure there's a description on the vehicle. And if and when that person is discovered, we'll, of course, bring it straight to everybody.
Exactly. And there's always somebody that knows the family that had these abandoned animals, somebody that knew the animals. They can report anonymously.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's really, really bad when these animals are dumped, that, when they survive, that we don't have any history on them. And it makes it, it just puts an extra burden on the animal control facility that took them in, or the shelter that's taking them in, because now they have to start from scratch with medical information, all the vaccinations all over again, the testing all over again. So, that's a burden on not only those rescues and shelters, but ultimately on the taxpayers too.
Exactly. That's some good context. Yeah. And then if we want to get into our next case, shortly after that, it got on the Desmond's Army radar that there was a retail pet shop that was opening up in the city of Danbury. And we noticed that there was a state legislator who took a photo, posted it on social media page. It was basically a ribbon cutting ceremony welcoming this retail pet shop to the city of Danbury. Pet shop is called Forever Friends, and Danbury has quite a history with pet shops.
Yes. They're
ahead.
right across the line from New York, who banned the sale of dogs and cats in their pet stores, so they just pack up and move to Connecticut.
That is what they do. Yes. Yeah. They used to operate in New York. In fact, this one that we're talking about used to operate in New York, and then changed its licensing and rebranded, separating its rescue business from its retail pet sale business, moving across the state line into Connecticut, where, Connecticut doesn't have any laws restricting this. They call it the puppy mill pipeline, right? And so I'll just give some of the details on this case. Again, Forever Friends Family LLC is the name of the pet shop. It's owned by Brianna Russo, who up until 2024 was a licensed pet dealer operating out of Wappingers Falls, New York. Russo changed her business in New York from a pet dealer license to a registered rescue and rebranded her New York location to Forever Friends Family Rescue, separating the pet shop and moving into Danbury. And Senator Julie Kushner was the one who posted the ribbon cutting photo up on social media, along with the mayor, Mayor Alves, I believe is his name, and several other dignitaries, and just kind of just tone deaf, I thought, when I saw the photo. Just tone deaf.
Uneducated. uneducated. They thought they were welcoming in a nice business that would give them, maybe a little bit of tax base. They just had no idea what they invited in, nor did they have any idea how. And this is the really sad part. Representative Kushner has no idea what her constituents want.
Right.
Protests. I mean, and we saw this in Stanford also, the protests. We know, and research shows very clearly, and in an overwhelming amount, that these animals are coming from mills, puppy mills, cat mills, where they're bred over and over and over and over. That's the only reason these animals are alive, is to breed and make puppies or kittens for these money mongers. It's awful. And the lives of those breeding animals is horrendous. And the lives of the puppies or kittens is also horrendous. And what you see in the pet stores is really absolute the best that they've ever seen. Locked in cages, probably not fed as often as they should be. Certainly not given the vet care that they should have, and their breeding is so poor that many are sold.
Yeah. Well, these stores, they have cute names. They have nice, shiny logos, bright colors to get people to come in. But there's such a deep, dark history behind the scenes that people don't really see, right? And it's not always done in an ethical way.
Right. And the people that shop in those stores, I mean, there's two types of shoppers. There's, one who want a specific type of dog, and they go in there and they believe the lies that they're told. We have a very reputable breeder. They only breed once a year. Their animals are taken care of like they are golden. It's all lies. It's all lies. And so there's that shopper who then walks away with a $4,000 puppy that they get home and find it's really sick.
Right.
And then there's the other shoppers that go in there believing that if they just buy one of these poor little puppies, they're going to rescue it and save it from this horrendous life. They couldn't leave it in the cage. And, although their hearts are in the right places, again, ultimately, they're
profiting. These unethical businesses are profiting from that.
And they're supporting these breeders that are in this for no other reason but to gain profits.
Well, and Desmond's Army, when we first found out about this, we actually did some investigating into this company, and they do partner with breeders who are, I guess they're called Amish breeders, right? And some of them have violations, but they'll always tell you, these pet shops, that their classic line is, well, we only work with licensed and inspected USDA breeders. And that may be true, but the problem, from what I've discovered and what Desmond's Army has discovered, is that USDA is completely undermanned and underfunded. So they don't have the manpower to be able to do regular inspections, and their quality standards on what's ethical, quite frankly, is abysmal. It's pretty low.
Exactly. So, we could show you pictures all day long of where these animals come from, but you're not going to believe it. The people who are buying. So the next best thing that we could do is try to get a ban on these pet mills, puppy mills, and the pet stores selling the puppy mill dogs. And hopefully Connecticut will get on board with that, like so many other states have done.
Yep. We'll be pushing for that. Right now, Connecticut doesn't have any restrictions on that. They kicked around a statewide ban, several years ago that never ended up passing. They said, no, let's leave it up to the local municipalities. Let's do it sort of a piecemeal patchwork kind of a way. And I think we're discovering that we really need a wholesale solution. So hopefully some legislators will get behind that.
Hopefully.
Let's move on. Yeah. We'll move on to this is the case involving Bambi. Okay. And we've talked about Bambi before during some other commentary. Really, really sad case. It's sad because it looks like there's going to be no justice. So what ended up happening was there was a puppy named Bambi, and the prosecutor declined to issue any charges in this case. It was a starvation case. We were able to obtain the warrant after many, many requests, and we discovered that there is a suspect named Tiffany Lyles. In the warrant, it was discovered that she lied about finding Bambi in a box on the side of the road in New Haven. That's what she said. Oh, I just found this dog. When investigators started probing and asking more about her story, it didn't check out. There were holes in it. She ghosted them. Video evidence ended up surfacing in this case that showed Bambi emaciated and starving on her porch. So clearly not found on the side of the road.
Right.
And so just despite all of this, Linda, there's been no accountability, no charges. How does that happen?
It happens more often than not. And what little accountability we do find, it is very little. It's very, very little. It does not meet the crime, the accountability that we see in our courtrooms. And again, I don't know why they don't see this as a public safety issue. Somebody that's willing to starve an animal nearly to death, and in many cases, they don't survive. That's a problem. And that's a dangerous person. I don't know why our courts don't see that, but hopefully, our residents are becoming more educated in this area and are going to be speaking up a lot louder this year than they have in the past.
Yes.
So
make that your New Year's resolution.
Yes,
make your voices heard.
Right. Yep.
And it really does help. That's how you bring about change.
Absolutely.
Everybody should know who their state legislators are, how to contact them. If you don't, we can provide you with that information. But that's the best way to affect change.
Absolutely.
Protest, advocate.
I think I just said on our Facebook page that you're never going to get change unless you ask for it. You have to ask for it. You have to get to know your legislator. They care about the people that speak to them. And if you're not speaking to them, they're not hearing you. I think I mentioned that we had a meeting with Representative Carrie Wood, and she told us how important it is to actually get a face-to-face with your representative. Call them, talk to them on the phone, invite them out for a coffee, talk to them.
Yeah.
They need to hear from you. And it's much more impactful when you do that rather than just shoot them an email or a text message or
I think people always think
on something on their Facebook page. The connection is there if you make it.
Yeah, people think they're too busy. I don't want to bother them. They work for us. They're elected
people
officials.
Are somehow intimidated.
That's why they're there.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I met with one of my representatives, and I won't say who it was, but they said, "What's the bill number? What are you actually looking for? What's the language of that law? Do you have it in writing? Did you bring anything with you?" And it was rather intimidating. It's like, I didn't come prepared with bill numbers.
Yeah.
The next time I met with my representatives that I had it all, every bit of it. So educate yourself. And if you don't know how, get in touch with Desmond's Army. We will help you. We will help you to get through, making it a more comfortable interaction with your representative.
Yep. And going back to this case involving Bambi, we want to give our thanks to Army's Legacy Animal Rescue and Sanctuary for stepping in. Really, really heroic job to get Bambi on the road to recovery. Desmond's Army was proud to do our part, of course, by contributing $500 to her veterinary care. And she's doing great. I've seen videos. Yes. I mean, she's such a cute dog. To see, the emaciation and her rib cage protruding and all kinds of to see where she is now.
Barely lift her head when they got her.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
So it's great that she's doing good, but we still need justice. There should have been charges. We're advocating for the state's attorney in Milford, the Milford Judicial District, State's Attorney Margaret Kelly, to issue the charges. She can still do that, and she should.
Absolutely.
And everybody should be reaching out and commenting on that in a professional, polite way, of course.
Right.
Let's talk.
Absolutely has to be professional because, I know this angers people really, really badly, as it should. But the second you show that anger to a prosecutor, they're shutting you down. So professional.
Get more with honey than you do with vinegar, as they say.
Well, I'm not sure about honey, but we don't have to go that far.
Speaking of things that'll really make you upset and angry, the case involving a dog named Bear. And this was it ended up being a starvation death. And Desmond's Army made the decision to put out a disclaimer, but to post the pictures of Bear deceased. And because just of how impactful they are, and people needed to see the end result of starvation. But we ended up obtaining those photos. Bear was an 11-month-old Cane Corso puppy, literally starved to death in Seymour. Officials removed him from his filthy crate on October 27th. Bear was so weak that he collapsed immediately, covered head to tail in his own feces, even caked inside of his nose. Bear passed away the next day. Now, a necropsy was performed and confirmed severe emaciation due to prolonged chronic neglect. And here's the kicker. A second dog, a corgi, was found in the same home, also in starvation mode, barely alive. That dog, thankfully, recovering. Seymour police did make 2 arrests in this case, Erica Kittle and Wilfredo LeBron, both charged with animal cruelty. Linda, what do you think about that?
What do I think about that? I think that, again, we'll go back to people whining and crying that inflation prices inflation is up and I can't afford to feed myself, never mind my animals, and boo-hoo, so sorry, it's a tough life. In my opinion, to watch an animal starve to death has got to be almost one of the most horrific, horrendous, painful deaths there are. And there is no excuse for it whatsoever. There's no excuse for an animal even going hungry. There are so many resources out there. There are pet food pantries. You put a post out on Facebook about an animal that needs food, and you will have packages at your door the next day.
Yeah.
There's just no reason for it. And to harden your heart so badly to sit and watch that happen over weeks. These animals are suffering for weeks. It's a very, very painful death. And I don't know how somebody could watch that, be a part of it, not do something about it. There's so many things that they could do. This is, as it should be, a felony offense. It's not right now. It's not. It should be.
Mm-hmm.
And we really need to push for that this year. That's one of the most horrific deaths there could be.
I agree. I almost think it's worse. I mean, we're talking about degrees of evil at this point. All evil is evil. So I don't want to make it sound like, but I mean, let's say you have a fit of rage, right? A crime of passion or whatever, and you kill someone or you kill an animal. It's like a momentary thing. Horrible, horrible. But starvation, to your point, is so prolonged, and you watch it and you derive perhaps enjoyment from it or whatever. I don't know what, I can't even begin to put my frame of mind into that person.
No.
But it's just sick. It's almost worse. It's worse, I think.
Yeah. It's really a horrible offense. And it is one that we see our courts take so lightly. Again, I think, we've seen many cases of starvation or near starvation, and the defendant will whine and cry about finances or lack thereof. And the courts sympathize with them and say, oh, it's so hard to live these days. Grocery prices have gone up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are resources available if you reach out. And it's your obligation to reach out as a pet owner. If your pet is suffering, you need to reach. It's your responsibility to reach out for help.
Absolutely. By the way, glad these 2 arrests were made. Bail posted $5,000. $5,000.
Which, is probably 7% of that. They can even negotiate down the bond amount.
Well, because we have cash bail in Connecticut.
Right.
I don't think we should.
No.
Not for crimes like this.
No.
Certain crimes, okay, but...
And what kind of a deterrent is that? What kind of a, you know, oh, what's the word? To get them to go to court. It's not an incentive to
No, incentive,
give
right?
up
That's the word.
$100. Big
Right,
deal.
right,
In that case, it, maybe as little as 50. Who cares, right? They're not going to court for that.
right. Unbelievable. Linda, I'm leaning on you for this next case. Let's talk about the Sarah Smolak case. Kind of predated me getting involved with Desmond's Army, but I know a unique situation with you because you're fostering one of the dogs that was involved in this case. So tell us what happened there.
Well, I think, although I'm not really super familiar with, the really guts of this case, I do know that it started with a rescue in New York, a wonderful rescue who had placed a dog with her as a foster. And when they went to get the dog back, they found that she didn't have the dog.
Dog's name was Marshmallow.
Marshmallow. And Marshmallow disappeared. And it kind of started the whole search. So they called authorities in Connecticut where Smolak was living, and they knew there were other dogs in the house. It ended up that they seized, I believe, about 40 dogs from her. 40. That's
She's
a lot.
charged with 42 counts of animal cruelty.
Holy
It
cow.
says police seized 27 dogs from her home.
I think that's in one town. I think there are more. Again,
Okay.
I'm not super familiar with the real guts of this case, but I know that she is, she just takes no responsibility whatsoever. She was ordered by the court to produce Marshmallow. She did not, and she won't tell anybody where the dog is. Of course, we all believe that she probably killed Marshmallow, and so she just won't tell anybody. And yet, even though the courts ordered that, and she, in my opinion, was in contempt of court, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And she just continues to go to court, yada, yada. She wants us to feel sorry for her.
She's out on bail?
Yeah.
42 counts?
I believe so, yes.
Of animal cruelty and out on bail.
Yep. And I know, when I came down to the wire and I knew that there were some dogs left that still needed foster homes, I decided that I should play my, lend a hand and do my part in helping these dogs. And so I decided to foster. I went out to Simon Foundation where they were being held, and I saw a couple others beside the one that I have, and we won't mention any names in case Miss Smolak sees this. But these dogs were in pretty bad shape. They were, hungry. The ribs were showing. The hip bones were showing. Why? Why do you do this to animals? I don't know. And why does it take years to get through our court system? By the time anything happens with this case, probably some of these dogs will be dead. They won't survive that long.
Well, it's already been over a year. I mean, we posted this update for the 1-year anniversary of the disappearance of Marshmallow. Mm-hmm. So we're a little over a year now into this.
It's crazy, and it will go on and on.
How's that dog doing that you fostered? Doing better?
Yes. Oh, yes. She's much better. She needed surgery. She had such an overgrowth of tissue on her gums. It was called gingival hyperplasia. She got the care that she needed, and she is just a wonderful dog. She gets along with cats. She gets along with other dogs. She's my dog's best friend. She loves every person that she runs into. She loves going to the vet. I mean, she's just an all-around really, really great dog. How anyone could make her go hungry for one day is beyond my imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a case we're obviously going to be closely continuing to follow and advocate for.
Mm-hmm.
One that just got on the radar a lot more recently involves a volleyball coach at a high school, a Connecticut high school. This is a case, horrific animal cruelty in Brookfield, surfacing about a man named Willie Hendricks. Boys and girls volleyball coach at Danbury High School was arrested on 2 counts of animal cruelty after his Rottweilers were found starving and living in absolute filth. Dogs were named Zira and Hades, had their rib and thigh bones jutting out, forced to stand in their own feces or in the basement, which routinely flooded. The
Yeah.
entire house, disgusting, smeared with feces and urine. So the dogs are confiscated, Linda, at the end of October and are safe. Each dog immediately upon being rescued drank, full quart of water. And the kicker with this case was there was another dog named Max that we found out was dead for days on his deck while kids were in the house. Just comment on this. What are your thoughts?
Can you imagine being a child and witnessing this? The pattern, and it's a pattern. So this type of behavior has been going on for a long time in this home. You're not going to change this man. I wouldn't want him near one of my children. And I believe he has children that he gets visiting. So I think there were kids in this home. I can't imagine what the trauma that they have gone through. And the really, really sad part is that when children grow up seeing this kind of stuff, it's normalized.
Normalized, yep.
And in the future, when they become adults themselves, they may very well follow the pattern. Because it has become normal to them to treat animals like they're garbage. You don't need to feed them. You don't need vet care. So, the damage that this person has done, not only to the dogs, but to his kids, imagine the trauma, all of the kids that have been coached by him, how they feel. I would bet that some of them have trouble.
Well, this is a guy supposed to be, to your point, a mentor, a pillar in the community. And this was all going on behind closed doors. By the way, as soon as this report surfaced, we ended up submitting a FOIA request, and we did obtain the warrant, which provided a lot more details. So, and this was a pattern with this guy, by the way. The first report of abuse was on 5/13. Dogs were confiscated on 10/29. So it took several months. And in those months, in the meantime, Hendricks was cited for failing to vaccinate his dogs, failing to license his dogs multiple times, letting his dogs roam.
This is what takes place when there is no accountability. It's what happens. I don't understand how our courts don't see this. A person has to be held accountable for their actions. And if they're not, you create this whole environment of normalization. And, well, this man will never stop. He will never have any respect for animals. He obviously has no respect for children. This is a man that, it went on and on and on and on, and it's too late to change him now. I hope to God they never allow him to have another animal again. Connecticut is lax on that. We have a brand new law. Well, it's not brand new. It's from 2023, where the law says that anyone convicted of animal cruelty the court is required. That is the wording in the law. The court is required to ban them from owning, working with, fostering any contact with animals, living with. And we very, very rarely see that law used. We don't hold people accountable, and it's really creating very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. We have one more case to get through. It's a doozy. But while we're on the topic of laws, something I always thought about, Linda, which maybe you can provide some more context. I don't know if this was ever discussed, but you know how you're a, let's say you're a sex offender or whatever. You have to go on a database. You have to register with the state. And that's a public database that anybody can look up so you can see who your neighbors are, who's living around you. Why don't we have an animal abusers database? So if somebody goes to a rescue or goes to a pet shop and wants to buy an animal, their name would pop up and they'd be banned from doing that. That wouldn't be hard to do, right?
Well, in Connecticut it is. I mean, other states have registries. We look to the other states for good language, but unfortunately in Connecticut, they can't find a way to do it without there being a fiscal note attached. And as soon as you add a fiscal note to any laws, Connecticut just throws them out the window. They They don't want to spend the money. There's also, a lot of questionable things about a registry and the different degrees of abuse that we see. We have a judicial website that shows who's convicted of what. And I hope that everybody's familiar with that site, and they can look up a person's last name either under convictions or under pending cases and see what they've been convicted of or what they're currently being charged with. Unfortunately, we let everybody go. Yeah. We nollie cases, we dismiss cases, and we give these wonderful diversionary programs, which there are several, that allows their records to be expunged. So as soon as they get through the program, which is, by the way, nothing, there's no requirements to that program, any of the diversionary programs. Maybe there's mental health treatment on an SDP, supervised diversionary program, but accelerated rehabilitation, there's nothing they have to do. After a period of time, their record is expunged, and now no one can see that they've been convicted of animal cruelty. So that's as close as Connecticut has come to a registry. Hopefully somebody will bring it back up for legislation again, but I don't hold out much hope that will happen here.
Yeah. Well, to your point, it's not like we live in a lawless society. We have laws. We just need to enforce them.
Exactly.
The ones that are already on the books, the books. All right. So our last case here is the case involving Jeffrey Vigil. This was in Norwalk. I know, it's pretty mind-boggling. And what happened was this individual was a suspect involved in a domestic dispute and was 52 years old. He pulled out an illegal weapon. The gun was unregistered and illegal, and ended up shooting a dog who we believe was trying to protect the domestic abuse victim in the home. Mm-hmm. There was a verbal altercation, I guess, between he and his human victim, and the dog was trying to protect the victim, and so bit his leg. He took out his illegal gun and shot the dog. Dog's okay. Dog didn't die, but that guy should be charged with animal cruelty. I think. Didn't happen.
No. I don't know how much clearer we can make it. The link between animal cruelty and domestic violence, elder abuse, child abuse, it's so clear. So when we don't hold somebody responsible and accountable for cruelty to animals, we are jeopardizing the safety of so many. Their children, their spouses, their partners, just so many. God, open your eyes.
Could go back to episode 2 where we talk about, in fact, it's titled The Link.
Mm-hmm.
The Link. And we talk about that connection in detail.
This man already went back to the same home.
Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about that yet. We had to issue a follow-up news release on this, Desmond's Army did, because after he was initially charged for the domestic disturbance, he went back to that same home days later and violated the no-contact protective order, returned to the residence. He had the locks changed to lock the victim out, and they couldn't find his guns. They didn't know where his guns went.
Oh, yeah. That's
so he ended up barricading himself inside the home. Officers got there, said, come out with your hands up. He refused. It took hours. They negotiated with him. Eventually, they just barged into the home. The officers did, and they arrested him without incident. Luckily, thank God, but they found a large quantity of ammunition during that search, and he got a bunch of other charges tacked on. Yeah. A violation of a protective order, criminal lockout, criminal violation of a restraining order, and interfering with an officer. Now, after all of that, his bond was $750,000. But still no charge of animal cruelty. Right. Shoot the dog. We don't care. That doesn't matter. Exactly. Shoot the dog.
Isn't that exactly what that says? Shoot the dog. We don't care. They don't see the link. Go get educated. This is a dangerous person. I'm sure that poor dog saw the violence in that home many, many times previously that caused him. And yet we don't take that as a warning, that the dog bit him.
Well, the other thing is dogs are considered property in the state of Connecticut, and they can't be. I mean, your dog is not your dining room table. Right. Your dining room table does not bite you. your dining room table does not protect you from an intruder who's trying to harm you or domestically abuse you. Your dog does that. Your animal does that because they love you.
Mhm.
They have empathy for you and feelings for you. So, living beings, creatures that
And each
feel.
other. I mean, it's just so apparent that, these are sentient beings. They feel, they feel everything. So it's horrible that we can't recognize them as that.
We're trying. We're trying.
We're getting, I was pleasantly surprised by the recent Pennsylvania law that they put into effect, where a dog was not seen, animals are not seen as property in like divorce proceedings.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that, every state is going to take that and expand on it. Again, I hope Connecticut will do something, but that was a fantastic little piece of legislation there.
More work to be done, certainly in Connecticut, and the legislative session approaching fast. It's a short session. I'm not sure what we'll be able to accomplish, but we're going to go at it full bore. And if you just want to provide a little bit of an update, I know you touched on it earlier, and then we'll wrap it up here, Linda. But Desmond's Army has been actively talking with state legislators about what can be done to make the animal welfare laws in Connecticut more robust. So what do you have on that front?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that we compiled a report. It's meaty. It's got a lot of information in it, and we're providing it to our members in the hopes that they will take that report to their individual legislators, hand them the report, and ask them to really look it over. It shows the terrible, terrible increase in animal cruelty crimes in our state. But what's more important is it shows that every year we're getting less and less accountability. We're making this an acceptable behavior here. And it's time. It's just time that we really get loud about this. So that report is available. It's available on our website at desmondsarmy.org. You can see it. If somebody wants a printed copy to go to their legislator, go sit with your legislator. Go show them this data. It's cases that we've followed. It's research that we've done. Email us. Let us know. We'll try to get you a copy of the report so that you can give it to your legislator. I'd like to see every single legislator in Connecticut have one. Also, January 27th, the Animal Caucus is holding an animal welfare forum that is open to the public, where you can go to the legislative office building. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning and listen to what's happening legislatively as far as animals go. Put your 2 cents in. You can register to speak if you'd like. They give you 3 minutes to speak. Let them know. Show up, and let our legislators know how important this issue is.
Show up, make your voice heard, wear your purple shirt, join Desmond's Army, all that.
Right. We have many, many animal advocates out there that aren't part of Desmond's Army. They're all welcome to go. It would be wonderful to let them know that the entire state of Connecticut is with us on this. We want our animals protected. We want our legislators and our courts to research, understand, learn about the link, because this is not only animals that that are at danger, at risk. When you have somebody committing animal cruelty, they are much more likely to commit violent crimes of other, in other areas, domestic violence, child abuse, elder abuse. It goes so far. The reach is so far. We have the warnings when they commit cruelty to animals, and yet we don't use those warnings. We don't take them seriously when, and we've seen many cases where they've gone on to hurt a person, a child.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you for the update, Linda, as always. And thank you for joining us for episode 3 of the Desmond's Army podcast. We're going to leave it there for today. We want to remind all of our viewers and listeners that you can find full episodes of the Desmond's Army podcast On Facebook at Desmond's Army, Instagram at Desmond's Army, YouTube at Desmond's Podcast, and on Apple Podcast and Spotify, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, just search for Desmond's Army. You can also email us with any ideas, feedback, topics, things you'd like to see at desmondspodcast@gmail.com. So once again, thanks so much, Linda, and we're going to plow through to the new year. Happy New Year, by the way, 2026.
Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year to everyone out there. Let's hope that 2026 is a better one for us and for animals.
Absolutely. We'll see everybody next time for episode 4. Thanks for joining us and watching.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.